I'm Allison, and this is Dream Anyway, a podcast for those of us who feel the pull to create, even when the path isn't clear. So wherever you are in your journey, grab a coffee, get comfy, and dream anyway.
I'm Mikayla Daniels. I am an Alaskan-born filmmaker, writer, and artist.
What films have you made?
Mostly short little documentaries and stuff. Unfortunately, I've done more screenwriting in the last 5 years than actually directing films, but that's because that's what I did my grad work in. I got my MFA in screenwriting in 2017. I didn't intend to go to grad school. It was when I was doing my BA in film at Eastern. One of the instructors over there, she was the only female instructor I had my entire time in the film department, and it was only for my senior year. And she said, I went to this conference. I know you're not looking to go to grad school because you're raising kids and everything. She's like, but I think it would be a really good idea. Just reach out to the director and talk to him. It's this new program. And I'm like, well, I'm exhausted. Raising 4 kids, working on my BA was a lot. And I was like, I'm not going to go to grad school. But I was like, okay, let me check it out. Obviously, I ended up going to grad school, but Stevens College, which is actually based in Missouri, decided to start an MFA in screenwriting program. And the director at that time, Ken Lazebnik, he grew up on the campus of Stevens College, which is a women's college. And one of his parents, I think his dad, was a teacher there. So he grew up on this women's college, ironically. And then he decided to do this low res screenwriting program because he's a Hollywood writer.
What does low res mean?
Low residency. We would go down to Los Angeles for about 10 days at the start of each semester, and we would have workshops. And we were on the Jim Henson studio, which is the former Charlie Chaplin studio. So that was really cool. We got to just really kind of be in this really creative place. And we had all these workshops for 10 days, and we'd have all these really good speakers come in. We saw people from Sundance, from different shows. We got to go into writers' rooms. At the time, Grimm was super popular. We got to go into that writer's room at the start of the season. And it was just it was so cool. And then we would go home and we would work on our screenplays and send them to our mentors and things like that. And then just come back again at the start of the next semester.
Were you always a writer? Is that why you were inspired to do screenwriting?
No, actually, I thought I was only going to be a director. I went to college in my 30s after I got divorced, and I was raising 4 kids because I thought, let's add another challenge. So I did the AA transfer degree, and I wasn't really sure. I was actually at the time thinking I was going to be a nurse because I had done a medical assisting program. I was like, okay, I'm just going to continue my education. I'm going to be a nurse. And I was thinking about maybe, becoming a physician's assistant or something later on. My youngest sister is a doctor, so it's in the family. And so I was just taking these classes, and you have to take these humanities classes, right? And I took I think it was a intro to creativity class, and the instructor at SCC, he was also the theater teacher, and he was putting on the plays. And it's you'll get extra credit if you try out for the play. And I was like, well, I've never done acting, but I like easy extra credit, right? So I did. And I had a very small part in the first play, and it was a lot of fun. And it went from there. And then I was doing, some leading roles, and I was like, oh, that's really fun. And then he gave me an opportunity to assistant direct an entire show, which was called RUR, Rossum's Universal Robots. It's an older play. And so I got to assistant direct that at Spokane Community College. And I was like, oh yeah, I want to be a director. At that time, I was like, I'm going to switch my major to film, which is so great when you're a 30-year-old divorced mom of 4. I'm going to go to film. And I'm sure my mom was just a little concerned for me at that time. But I was like, no, I feel this. I love film. I love the medium. I just never thought that I could do these things as a job.
Mm-hmm.
And he kind of said, well, it's possible. If you want to do it, you can do it. Okay. So I went and did, my undergrad. And then even at that time, I was like, no, I want to just direct. And then she's like, yeah, but this is a screenwriting grad program. And I was like, yeah. And I like writing, but I was like, I want to be a director more. And she's like, here's the thing. Everybody in Hollywood is looking for really good scripts, even directors. And she's like, if you can write your own really good script, she's like, you're ahead of everybody. This is where you want to really hone your craft is grad school, because grad school is very specialized. And so you're just doing the thing. And it really helped me to learn story and screenplay structure and television structure, which I'm not as much into writing television, just generally as I am feature length films. That's where I'm really comfortable at as far as writing. But I learned so much, and it was so great to do that. So yeah.
That's awesome. If writing wasn't really where your passion was, what makes somebody a good screenwriter?
Well, I mean, I always was a writer. So even as like a kid,
Like journaling and stuff?
no, actually books and like stories and stuff. But
So you were a writer.
yeah, I don't know. It was one of those things that I never adapted the title of. And it was just like, oh, it's just casual. I just do it for fun. And I'm not really a writer. And I think, for a lot of us, especially women, sometimes we feel like we have to have somebody else give us the title, right?
Yeah. And the permission, which is what your teachers did for you.
Exactly. And so it was like, oh, this is weird. And it was also something I had forgotten about, because it was something I did when I was a kid. And I found these books that I made in 5th or 6th grade, right? And they all said that I was a writer. And I was like, oh, so I really thought that this was going to be my thing when I was little. And I think somewhere when you grow up and you have kids and you become an adult, you kind of lose some of your dreams, or they get put on a back burner and you kind of forget who you used to be.
Yeah.
And then hopefully you find that again. And so that was just part of my process of finding like, oh, I am an artist and I am a writer and I'm all these things. But I just kind of stuffed them all down for a while, trying to, pay bills, raise kids, do all the things.
The purpose of my podcast is to show that we can dream and pursue art, whether we know how it'll turn out or not. And you definitely did that. And so besides those two teachers giving you encouragement, where do you think you had the gumption to think you could do it? Or maybe gumption's not the right word, but the belief.
I don't even know if it's the belief that I can do something. I think it's every time somebody's told me that I can't do something, I'm so stubborn that I'm like, fine, then I'm just going to go do it. I don't like people telling me what I can't do. And so I think it's just stubbornness.
I kind of feel that way. I went to a Mariners game recently. They tried to insist that you cheer and all that. I'm like, I'm not your dance monkey. I hate the forced cheer.
Yeah, I don't go to sporting events.
Me either. Well, that the first and last time of the Mariners, I went to a hockey game once and it had the same problem. And I went to a football game once and they said some stranger turned around it and got mad at me because I wasn't standing up and cheering.
Oh, no.
And when I went to the hockey game, I went with girlfriends and they were mad at me because I didn't stand up and cheer. No more sports for me. 3 in my lifetime. That's it. I'm done.
Put in your time. It's fine.
I don't know what that is about sports.
I think it's part of that herd mentality. There is something to be said about a lot of people like to do what everybody else is doing, right? And so they're afraid to step out of their comfort zone because they just want to be like everybody else, right? And so they're following along.
Do you think that's what makes artists different?
I think most artists are different because they just refuse to fit inside the boxes that society has put us in, right? Whether that's, sort of gender or just sort of ideology. I think most artists are just not part of the system, like we're outside of the system because the system isn't for us.
Or there's a need to be seen or heard, or what's going on inside needs to be on the outside. Do you feel any of that? Is that true for you?
I think it's just more of like the system is obviously set up to benefit a certain demographic. And for those of us who are not that demographic, we have to step outside of it to get anything done. Right?
I see, yeah. Do you have any projects on the horizon?
Well, after this, I'm actually meeting with a musician friend of mine because they want to talk to me about a music video that they are interested in me directing. And I'm hoping because my day job now is at a university. So I'll have about like the last 2 weeks of December free. I'm taking like 5 days of PTO, but with the weekends and holidays, I get like 13 days off or something. So I'm hoping I can kind of go in and do some things. It's so hard to create sometimes when you do have like this whole day job for survival and just trying to balance things health-wise too is always a struggle. There's also an experimental film that I'm going to be doing with this vocal embodiment individual that I know as well. And I'm hoping I can write some things. But other than that, I think it's just, the Saturday night cinema stuff, which I'm taping later next week. So I have to write scripts for that.
Tell us what that is.
Oh, so I'm a writer and on-camera host for Saturday Night Cinema on KSPS PBS, and I've been doing that since 2016. I'm one of the 2 hosts right now, but we used to have 3 hosts. Sean Higgins, he passed away in October of 2024. And ironically, my producer recently reached out to myself and Ryan, the other host, and asked us if we had any suggestions for a third host, because Ryan and I have been doing it, just the two of us, for this whole year. And, I think it's just nice when you have the three hosts, because we all have different opinions on films. And like Ryan's super into comedy and I'm not, and so it would be nice, I think, to have that third perspective. So I've been sending over a couple of names and stuff to my producer saying, hey, these are people you should audition, and hopefully we get a third host, because I just think it would be fun.
Yeah, that's fun. Do you think you're a good critic?
I don't know. I don't know if I'm a good critic. I'm definitely more forgiving of the horror genre, just because the genre itself is like, even bad films can be really, really good in the horror genre. I think I'm more critical of writing, because I was trained in very specific story structure. And even though I do believe you don't have to follow all the rules, right? That's dumb. None of us have to follow all the rules, but there is a way to make a screenplay flow. And the reason for that structure is because film is a medium, right? And what works on paper does not work on film necessarily. Yeah. So you do have to adapt and change things. And, especially if you're adapting from a literary work and things like that. So I think I'm more just critical of writing, but I'm very picky with other films. So I don't like to be too picky on genres that I don't like, because I don't think that that's fair. I try to be a little bit more neutral about genres that I don't like, because I don't want my own personal feelings of the genre to color maybe like, hey, technically it was a beautiful film.
Yeah.
Or the story was great, or the story was important, but maybe I really hated the film. And so I don't necessarily say like, I hated this film. Yeah. I might just be like, this was strong and I don't think this was strong,
That makes a good critic, because that's fair.
Depending on what you say and how you say it, it may hurt some feelings. And I don't always like to hurt. I do like to hurt people's feelings sometimes when they're being rude, but not like over art, because it's subjective anyways.
Right. Oh my gosh, it is, because our taste levels aren't the same. That's just how it is. And it doesn't mean one person's bad. It's just different.
Yeah. One of my sisters, Deborah, she won't watch anything that I do that's involved in the horror genre. And she's like, I love you and I support you. She's like, but I hate that stuff. And it's like, that's fine.
I mean, I might have to do the same. I might never see a film of yours. But do you only do horror?
No, I do horror stuff. I can never say that word correctly. Horror stuff, queer stuff, and weird stuff. I like to say. I do like experimental films and stuff like that. So there's some weird stuff, but generally it is darker, on the darker side. So even if it is drama, it's drama that's going to be really uncomfortable. There is a difference in creative writing and narrative writing than just screenplay writing, because again, you're writing specifically for the screen, but also for most people, you're writing for somebody else to fall in love with your script, right? So for someone like me and a lot of the people that I went to grad school with, it's not just about writing stuff for ourselves. Some of the people I went to school with have no interest in anything outside of writing. So we were really taught how to write screenplays that would catch the interest of an actor or a producer, right? Who wants to attach to your script and get the film made.
I see.
And that did happen for me pre-COVID. It's crazy. So one of my final projects for my MFA was this screenplay called Wingmen Lost. And a lot of it was based on true stories. It was a dark drama about a woman who goes to military basic training, is assaulted by her drill instructor, and basically ends her life. And it is based on one of my best friends, Ember, who I actually met in basic training. And while that didn't happen to her in basic training, it happened about a year later with her first sergeant. So I took it into this story. I didn't want to write this story. Actually, my mentor at the time, she's like an award-winning journalist. She's like, no, you may not want to write it, but this is a story you have to write. Oh, fine. And I fought it. And it was hard because so much of it is true. And that screenplay actually did really well. It was an Athena List finalist, which the Athena List is put out by Barnard College and Women in Hollywood. And it's the top unproduced screenplays that feature women in leadership roles. And so I was one of the handful of finalists in 2018, and I got to go to New York and do all these things and stuff with it. And then after that, a actress, she ended up, I don't know, I think somebody else had sent her the script, and she ended up reading the script and she loved it. And so she attached onto it, and she found an Oscar nominated director to attach himself to it. And I was like, oh, this is fantastic. But then what a lot of people don't realize is that you can have people attached to your project and it can be an amazing script and nothing happens to it, right? So it ended up getting pitched at places like A24 and Netflix, and the producers were getting great feedback on it. And it was getting some momentum. And then COVID hit. So March 2020, and then it just kind of like fell apart. It's hard to get a film made that's critical of the military. And this screenplay is very critical of the structures within the military that allow assault to happen and the victims being punished, right? And it's still going on now. I mean, it's just as true as it was in 2008, 2009 as it is now. I still have friends who are in varying levels of leadership within the military. And it's hard to criticize it. And it's hard to get funding for something like that. So for me, it was always more of just like, oh, this is going to be a piece to show that I can write something that's really emotional and really important and stuff. But I never thought it would actually get made. So as disappointing as it is to like have it get so far and to know like, let some of these major production companies, they liked it, they liked the pitch and everything, but then it just like didn't happen. Maybe that's for the best, but then who knows? In 10 years, maybe it will come back around, right? You hear about that all the time, like screenplays that somebody wrote 10, 15, 20 years ago, thought the project was dead. Things change, right? The world changes. And so maybe it will come back at some point, but I also won't be disappointed if it just doesn't. I still love a lot of people who serve, and I don't hate the military. I just hate the systems in place that allow these things to keep happening and that make people afraid to report. And of course, it's bad in the civilian world as well, but it is a lot worse within the military because it is this kind of confined structure, right? So when a woman or whoever complains, the risk is, the military is in charge of your housing. They're in charge of your job, your location, right? And so sometimes people who speak up get sent to really bad locations, right? And they can move you anywhere. And so it's just so different. It's just so confined.
Makes me think of the church too, though.
Yeah. I mean, I think it is a lot like some of these all-inclusive sort of churches where, you have kids going to the church school and they're going to church, all the time. And it's hard to report when everybody in your authority line is part of the problem.
Right. How old are your kids now?
They're 19, 20, 20, and 23.
20 and 20?
Yeah, I have identical twins. My youngest was born 9 days before the twins' first birthday. So I had like 4 boys in under 4 years.
Oh my gosh.
And then when the youngest wasn't even 2 is when I enlisted into the Air National Guard. I went down to basic training and
oh, wow.
Yeah, it was weird.
How old were you when you did that?
28, I think. At that time, that was the oldest you could be to enlist into the Guard. I actually would have gone active duty, even though I had a bunch of little kids at the time. But it's not something that was a surprise because I did do ROTC in high school and I was really good at it. And then I quit because if I get too good at something too fast, then I no longer want to do it. If it becomes too easy, I lose interest.
What else have you been too good at that you lost interest in?
I was in a debate and it was called DDF, which was drama, debate, and forensic. And I was really good at the speech part. And so I wrote really funny, sarcastic speeches in my junior year and I did it really well. And then I got so much positive feedback that I didn't do it again for my senior year because I was like, no, it's fine. Yeah. I had won second place a couple of times, like my first time through. And I'm like, I think I wanted a little bit more challenge. I wanted it to be a little harder, right? That's why I went to basic training, right? It's really hard to do, especially on your body after you've had a bunch of kids, right? I remember this time we were crawling, under barbed wire and everything. And I did it and I finished it. And I was just like, girl, you have literally given birth to like 4 human beings and you're here doing this, like physically doing this. How amazing is that your body can kind of transfer from caring for and bringing forth life and then do all this badass stuff too. And it was just one of those moments where I was like, oh, this is really cool. I can do hard things. And I think because I've done a lot of hard things in my life that if it's too easy, I don't want it.
Do you get bored easy?
Probably. I'm most likely undiagnosed ADHD, as I've learned from taking prescription stimulants for a different reason. I'm like sleepy all the time. And they're like, you're not supposed to be sleepy all the time. And this might be why you kind of switch around from things all the time. I'm like, oh, maybe.
A year ago, or maybe 2 now, actually, diagnosed with ADHD. And I just thought that was normal. Of course, I thought everything I thought was normal because that's how I thought. but I need to be creating or I'm deathly bored. I need to be doing something. I can't just sit there. If I don't have photos to edit, I need to be editing the podcast. I just have to be doing something.
Yeah, that's kind of when I turn to art that isn't art. I have a bunch of coloring books and gel pens, and I make cards and I make postcards out of found materials and stuff like that. And then I send them out to people because that's still art and I'm still creating, but it doesn't feel like I'm creating for a purpose other than to create. And I think that's what makes it so light and fun, right?
Yeah,
I think sometimes as artists, we can get so involved in like, oh, I have to do these projects and I need to get this art out there and stuff. And we forget like, hey, sometimes the fun is actually just in the creating. If it's not something anybody's going to see, or, you know, if it's card, it's not like, like one person's going to see it, right? It's such a huge thing. And I think we forget about it.
I didn't paint until I was almost 46. My mother passed away when she was 46 and she was the artist. Mm-hmm. And I was so nervous I would not be like her. Of course I wouldn't be. It didn't occur to me though that I could be my own artist. Right. And so once I dove in and once I realized, luckily, that I would never be like her, I could enjoy the process. I could paint all night long and throw the canvas out in the morning and still have enjoyed all night long. And so I'm so happy that I gave myself permission to be my own artist and to enjoy the journey, because that is what I think holds so many people back.
Yeah, I agree. I think people are so afraid to start things because they have this idea in their head of what does a writer look like? What does an artist look like? And wherever we get these ideas from, obviously society and other things, but I think it just makes us feel like we're not the thing or we can't do the thing. And no, you can. You get to take any title you want. You can change your name. You can change your title. We can reinvent ourselves every few years if we want to, but it's hard. I think a lot of people like being comfortable, and most artists are not comfortable.
Do you know what you want your legacy to be?
Honestly, the only legacy I want is hopefully I just encouraged everyone to be themselves. My kids are all very different people from me and even from each other, which is ironic considering I do have a set of identical twins, but they are mirror twins, which makes them opposite of each other. And I just want them to be happy. I don't have any expectations for what jobs they may have, whether they may or may not get married or have kids. Like I'm not, oh, I want grandkids. I don't care. I just want them to be authentic in themselves. And I want that for everybody, because you can really see somebody coming out of their shell once they decide or once they know that they can just be themselves and the right people will find them, right? Because no matter what you do, somebody's going to hate it and somebody's going to love it. And that's true for everything that you do in life. And so if people are going to hate you no matter what you do, you might as well be doing something that makes you happy. Your tribe, your people, just the right vibes will find you. And it may take a while, but you know, they generally find you if you just keep being yourself, and you'll find a community. And outside of that, don't worry about what other people think about you.
Thanks for listening. New episodes drop every Thursday.